It has finally happened. Galactus has been nerfed after endless complaints from the community. In this video, I will go over the change and the possible implications for the card. Is it still going to be playable? And most importantly, is it still going to be as polarizing as the old Galactus? And make sure to stay until the end because I'll be sharing a tip on how to increase your success rates when playing the new Galactus. So let's jump straight in. Galactus has been changed from a 6-2 to a 6-7 with text that reads now, on reveal, if you're winning this location and this is your only card here, destroy all other locations. This is actually a massive change to him, and in my opinion, would lead to him to be played in a completely different way. So there are actually two changes that affected him, and I think we need to discuss them separately. First, the change to his ability. In addition to being the only card in the location, Galactus now requires you to be winning that lane when he is revealed, in order for him to blow up the other two locations. This means that it's now going to be a lot easier to counter him without actually having Galactus counters in your deck. You just need to make sure that on the turn your opponent plays Galactus, you have more than 7 power in each location where your opponent doesn't have cards when Galactus reveals. So it is possible to start countering Galactus early by stacking power into your opponent's empty lanes. One of the main complaints I've seen against Galactus is that although it's not hard to counter him, the game essentially boiled down to whether you had a Galactus counter or not. Obviously, no one likes feeling like that, especially if you end up facing Galactus over and over again. So with this change, the devs are trying to minimize that feeling and the reliance on counter cards. It is now possible to counter Galactus with pure power. And of course, almost all of the previous Galactus counters still work, maybe with the exception of Professor X, and that leads me to the second part of the change to Galactus. His power increased from 2 to 7. I honestly feel like this change is a more significant nerf than the change to his actual ability. Most Galactus decks try to lose initiative, so when they play out their Giant, Null, and Death, they can be safe from Shang-Chi, Enchantress, and Rogue. Now, Galactus players will have to employ everyone's favorite girl or boy, if you're a comic book fan, in order to protect their big cards, which also means that if Galactus was activated on turn 5, you won't be able to play both Null and Death and might have to settle for just Death and Cosmo. It is of course still possible to play out all 3 cards if you activate Galactus on turn 4. 7 power is honestly not a huge amount of power and can easily be countered by turns 4 and 5, which is when Galactus is usually played. As long as you stack power into possible Galactus lanes, it should be pretty easy to counter him on those turns. I will be doing that as soon as I see any heralds of Galactus, be it Yondu, Wolverine, or Electro. The harder Galactus to counter will be a turn 3 wave into a turn 4 Galactus, but it is still very possible since you'll be able to play out your big cards with the help of wave. In my opinion, and I could be wrong, turn 6 Galactus is going to be hit pretty badly because the 7 power will struggle to compete with most turn 6 boards. You might get lucky with locations like Death's Domain or Altar of Death or Luke's Bar, but in most games, turn 6 Galactus is just not going to be very viable. It is possible to pull off a super fun combo of Iron Fist into Shuri into Galactus, giving him 16 power, but that's definitely going to be just a fun deck and not a meta deck. Another possibility is setting up a lane with Green Goblin and or Hobgoblin to play Galactus on turns 5 or 6, but it is not my favorite way to play Galactus. I feel like those cards make it too predictable and for your opponent and gives them too much information on where you're going to play your Galactus. The change in power also affects the way Galactus decks interact with bots. Galactus used to be an amazing way to farm 8 cubes from bots because of the way bots think. Bots almost always snap on turns 4, 5, and 6 if they're winning 2 or more lanes. So by playing old Galactus into a location where you know you would lose initiative, you are pretty much guaranteed 4 or 8 cubes because the bot will always snap on you. They will think that they're winning all of the location because there's only one location left. With the new Galactus, bots will think that they're losing all of the locations, so they will not snap and they will most likely retreat most of the time. So no more free cubes for Galactus enjoyers. And of course, we can't discuss Galactus without talking about the most hateful combo of Wave into Galactus into Spider-Man. I am sad to report that this combination still works well and has not been affected that much. In reality, I think it is probably stronger than it used to be because of Galactus and Spider-Man's increased powers. The fact that in order to activate Galactus, you have to be winning that lane already means that the Spider-Man can no longer be countered by Cosmo, and because of the higher power, it can no longer be countered by Professor X. I mean, it is still possible to play Jeff into your Professor X lane if the difference in power is small enough, but the Galactus player might have Jeff again. And I've seen Jeff in Galactus decks. So if you have been Galactus on turn 4 successfully and your opponent snaps on 5, which is a mistake, but you know, it happens all the time, run. As promised, here's my tip on how to have more success with the new Galactus. Add Claw to your deck. Claw can buff middle and right locations without any cards in them, and when Galactus reveals, it counts Claw's +6 buff when deciding whether or not you would win that location, giving you 13 power. You can also try to trick your opponent into thinking you're going to play into the Claw buffed lane and play Galactus into the other lane instead. Another beautiful thing about Claw is that even though you might have initiative when Galactus activates, you would have lost a 6 power buff next turn when there's only one location left. This would mean that sometimes you would actually lose initiative against your opponent, allowing you to play Null and Def without the fear of those pesky Shang-Chi, Enchantress, and Rogue. Play something in the middle. Oh, the Shang-Chi's been discarded. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna hope that the next card that they draw is gonna be really small. Oh. Dang. That's fine. That's 7. Dude, I need to be winning the location. Oh, that kinda sucks. I got screwed. I got completely screwed.
Spider-Man here.
I guess I could do this. They were gonna know. They know where I play my cards. I love playing against bots. Oh no! It actually worked. It worked. My final thoughts on Galactus are, I think it is still a good card and will still be played by people who like that kind of playstyle. But it is going to be harder to pull him off and to protect your cards afterwards. I do like that this change means that you don't have to add Galactus counters into every single deck you make, and that's what I actually do when making decks. I try to add at least 2 Galactus counters into every new deck. I don't like that this change doesn't affect the Spider-Man combo at all. Like I said earlier, I think it actually makes the combination stronger, but I guess it's impossible to fix it without completely reworking one of the culprit cards. Overall, I'm excited to see how everyone plays the new Galactus, and maybe as a community we can just all agree not to play the wave into Galactus into Spider-Man combination. I would love to hear your thoughts on the change and whether you think it would make Galactus less prevalent on ladder. As always, I would really appreciate it if you could interact with the video in any way, be it a like, a comment, and of course, subscribe to my channel. And don't forget that I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/ninaisnoob, so come say hi if you have the time. And I'll see you next time. Bye!